Greetings duelists and welcome to another video. So today's topic involves Magical Musketeers. For those who don't know, this is an archetype that debuted in the side set Spirit Warriors, which came out in 2017. And we just got announced that we're getting a structure deck for this archetype in the OCG by December 4th, which means this is going to be probably a structure deck for us in the TCG in the beginning of 2026. And I'll be honest, this is not an archetype that I was thinking about when it involved like getting new support. If you guys already know, this archetype actually got indirect support last year with Fiendsmith. Enough to the point that it even topped multiple YCSs. This is not an actual Musketeer deck, but it is playing Musketeer cards as an engine. Shout out to Joshua Smith, one of the best players in the world. That is like a Fiendsmith like control deck. But going back to Magical Muskets, this archetype has not done anything in a long time as its own archetype. It only has been doing so as an engine. And this top from Joshua happened almost a year ago. So having a new structure deck for this archetype is not the worst idea by any means. We do have a new card that got revealed, but before we talk about the new card, let's summarize Magical Musketeers as a whole. For those who don't know, every Musketeer monster has the gimmick where you can activate Musketeer spell and traps in your hand while you control them. I think Max is like the only exception. But yeah, actually no. It's on Max as well. So every single Musket monster allows you to activate these spell and traps from your hand. And in past formats, this was way too slow as a strategy to keep up with other decks, despite how strong the mechanic is, because these spell and traps are not bad at all. These are very strong spell and traps. However, all these spell and traps require you to control a Musket monster, which kind of made it a little bit lackluster. Now, the other thing about Musket is, in order for this deck to perform very optimally, most of your spell and traps involved being the columns of your Musket monsters, which means on turn 0, you're not doing so much with this deck outside of just preparing your spell and traps or setting your spell and traps or placing the cards in the right columns to make sure that you have the actual triggers for your opponent. Musketeer Max is a card that was designed for Musketeer's flaw whenever you're going second and against your opponent's established boards. Since Max allowed you to activate spell and traps from the hand, you could use cards like Last Stand or Desperado or even Cross Domination to just contest against your opponent's like disruptions. But that's not enough. And them being light fiends, being enabled for Fiendsmith monsters is also really good, but it also wasn't enough because now the Fiendsmith engine is actually kind of powercrept at the moment. Now, let's see what is the new card. So, this is the new card that debuted for the structure deck. This is Magical Musket Mastermind Caspar. It is a Link 2 monster, and its materials are 2 monsters, including a Light Fiend monster. We'll get to this in a moment. During either player's turn, you can activate Musket from your hand, spell and traps from your hand, same as every other Musket. If this card is Link summoned, you can take 2 Magical Musket cards from your hand or deck, including a monster, special summon one of those monsters, and set the other to your opponent's field. You can only use this effect of Caspar once per turn. This card is incredible. Okay, first thing to note, this uses any 2 monsters, including a light fiend. You don't have to use a magical musket, which means Fiendsmith cards can be used with this, Fabled cards can be used with this, like, if you're playing like Fiendsmith as a side engine, you can easily play like the Musket cards as a side engine as well. This is a card that bridges you from Fiendsmith to Musket, which is something we didn't have in this version of the deck. Now this version of the deck can either pivot from Musket to Fiendsmith, or it can pivot from Fiendsmith to Musket, which is actually pretty cool. Like, after you resolve Caspar's effect, you can immediately Caspar into Musketeer Max, and then Musketeer Max into Requiem, and just keep going. This is really strong. Another thing to note, just taking 2 any Musket cards is really good, because what you can end up doing is, like, you can place Caspar in the same column as one of those cards, and either force activations or stuff like that. Really strong card. Yeah, I really don't have anything bad to say about this card at all. The question is, what are you pairing up with, or what other engines are you gonna play in the deck to make sure to play this? Because the Musket cards already take a good chunk of space for your cards as well. So whatever you're pairing with this, you have to make sure that, you know, it's splashable enough to the sense that it makes sense for Muskets, but at the same time does not like dwindle the consistency. Now, there is one subject that I kind of want to talk about, and that is the subject of Fiendsmith. As you guys already know, Fiendsmith has been a very strong engine in the TCG and the OCG for a while now. In the OCG, it's a little bit tougher because both Engraver and Tract are limited. But in the TCG, we still have 3 Engravers and 3 Tract. The difference in the OCG and the TCG is Lacrima is on the forbidden list for the TCG. Now, the question that I have for everybody who's watching, do you think Lacrima is allowed to come back to the TCG? Because as of right now, Fiendsmith is not doing that great, at least in any competitive level. Like, I think the best version of Fiendsmith, or the best engine that can play Fiendsmith cards, is Yummy. And not many people are doing Yummy Fiendsmith because it's really just not that necessary. I've seen Fiendsmith Mr. Rugi running around. I've seen Fiendsmith like with Sky Strikers and other decks like that. But in all, like, the other really good version of Fiendsmith is Life Twins. But Life Twins has a really big problem with cards that are easily sided against it. And the other thing you have to think about is Fiendsmith gets heavily countered by K9. So now, if you remember, we got we got a new rule change in the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG literally like a few days ago, like literally yesterday or like 2 days ago. And those changes do impact the power behind Fiendsmith Lacrima. For those who don't realize, Fiendsmith Lacrima got forbidden in a very opportune time in the TCG, and not only that, it is the quickest card to hit the Forbidden Limited list in Yu-Gi-Oh! History. Only lasting like 1 month. Or less than 1 month, rather. That being said, if you think about it carefully, everything that makes Lacrima like a real problem for the TCG, it's now gone. Beatrice is in the forbidden list. Appaloosa is in the forbidden list. Fiendsmith itself as an engine is a little bit powercrept. There's no real other rank 6 monsters that you can summon that are really abusable at the moment. The best one I can think of is Lars and M7. There is DDD Wave Hiking Caesar, but again, Wave Hiking Caesar has been around for a long time, and even when Unchained was in the metagame. The other thing about Lacrima that really made it very problematic was this effect right here. And with the new changes with how match procedure works, this is no longer an alternate win condition to win and cheese out as many duels. So, yeah. I kind of think that if Magical Musketeers is going to kick off as an archetype, or like in the future, maybe it's a good idea to have Fiendsmith's Lacrima just return to the like limited list section. I don't think anybody is looking at Fiendsmith as an issue at the moment. They just got reprinted as well in the 2025 Mega Teams, although I don't recall seeing Lacrima in there, so that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, I kind of just wanted to make that discussion because if this card stays on the forbidden list, I don't think Magical Muskets are going to do so well against the Justice Hunter decks. You could even argue that even with Lacrima, it wouldn't do that well. But testing will tell, right? Until then, keep practicing and keep dueling.